Once upon a time, in the quirky little town of Bumbleville, there lived a man named Mr. Hamid. Mr. Hamid was known throughout the town for his peculiar and sometimes downright hilarious antics. One sunny morning, Mr. Hamid decided it was the perfect day for an adventure. He decided to set out on a treasure hunt, hoping to come across some hidden gems in the nearby woods. Armed with a treasure map that he had come across in an old library book, he was convinced he would come up with something remarkable. As he wandered through the dense forest, he couldn't help but break into a tune, humming a catchy melody. His singing was so off-key that even the birds in the trees above began to fall out of their nests, laughing uncontrollably. Mr. Hamid was so absorbed in his singing that he didn't realize he had come upon a beehive hanging from a tree branch. Unbeknownst to him, a group of bees had come out to investigate the noisy intruder. Before he knew it, he was surrounded by a swarm of angry bees. Panicking, Mr. Hamid tried to run away, but his shoelaces were caught up in a thorny vine. He attempted to cut across to a safer path, but his efforts only resulted in a torn trouser. He decided it was time to face up to the buzzing menace. Summoning all his courage, he began to swat at the bees with his hat, which only made matters worse. In his frenzy, he accidentally knocked over the beehive, causing it to blow up like a tiny buzzing volcano. As the bees dispersed in every direction, Mr. Hamid let out a triumphant cheer, believing he had triumphed over his winged adversaries. Little did he know that he had come down with numerous bee stings all over his body. With a burst of energy, he hobbled back home, nursing his bee stings and chuckling to himself about the wild adventure. But his day of excitement wasn't over yet. As he entered his quirky little cottage, he was surprised to find a group of his neighbors gathered there. They had been worried about him and decided to check on his well-being. They looked at his disheveled appearance and said, "Mr. Hamid, you've really come up against quite an adventure today." Mr. Hamid, ever the joker, broke into laughter and replied, "Well, folks, it's all in a day's work for an adventurous soul like mine. Now, who wants to help me clear up the mess I've made?" And so, the laughter of the townfolk ringing in his ears, Mr. Hamid learned that sometimes the best adventures are the ones that come to you when you least expect them. As the neighbors helped Mr. Hamid clear away the remnants of his adventurous day, they couldn't help but break into laughter at his antics. They were relieved to see him safe and sound, even if a bit battered from his bee encounter. Over cups of tea and slices of freshly baked pie, they shared stories and caught up with another's lives. Mr. Hamid regaled them with tales of his treasure hunt, bee battle, and his somewhat disastrous attempt at singing. As the sun began to come down, Mr. Hamid's cottage was filled with warmth, laughter, and a sense of camaraderie. It was moments like these that reminded him of the true treasures in life, the people who care for and support you. With the help of his friends, Mr. Hamid's adventurous day ended on a high note. They assured him that they would always be there to call on if he ever found himself in another sticky situation. As the evening sky turned into a canvas of stars, Mr. Hamid and his neighbors broke off into cheerful goodbyes, promising to come together again soon for another adventure, or perhaps just for the joy of each other's company. And so in the small town of Bumblefeel, where every day seemed to bring out a new surprise, Mr. Hamid learned that the real treasures of life were the friendships and laughter that came along when you least expected them. The days passed in Bumblefeel, and Mr. Hamid's adventure with the bees became a legendary tale in the town. It was a story that would be passed on from one generation to the next, always accompanied by laughter and wonder. Mr. Hamid continued to carry on with his quirky ways, and his antics never failed to catch on with the town folks. They appreciated his unique ability to bring out smiles and laughter, even in the most ordinary of days. As seasons changed and the years went by, Mr. Hamid remained a beloved figure in Bumblefeel. He counted on the support of his friends and neighbors, who were always there to lend a helping hand or simply enjoy a good laugh together. In the end, Mr. Hamid discovered that the true treasures of life weren't found in hidden treasures or grand adventures, but in the simple joys of laughter, friendship, and the unique ability to bring out the best in yours. And so, in the heart of Bumblefeel, where every day was an adventure, Mr. Hamid continued to live his life, cherishing the bonds he had built up with those around him. It was a life filled with humor, love, and ever-present possibility of a hilarious mishap just waiting to break out. As the years rolled on, one thing was certain. In the town of Bumblefeel, life with Mr. Hamid was always unforgettable, where every moment had the potential to burst in with laughter and joy. And so in the town of Bumblefeel, where every day was an adventurous and every person's life was touched by the infectious laughter of Mr. Hamid, the story of his bee-filled escapade lived on. People often came to him for advice or simply to enjoy a hearty laugh. He had a knack for making even the most mundane situations come to life with humor and positivity. As the years went by, Mr. Hamid's hair turned silver, but his spirit remained as youthful as ever. He continued to call on his friends and neighbors for impromptu gathering. In the end, it wasn't the treasures hidden deep in the forest that mattered, but the treasures of laughter, camaraderie, and the unique ability to bring out the best in everyone he met. Mr. Hamid had discovered that life, like his beloved town of Bumblefeel, was a series of adventures, big and small, waiting to be explored. And so, in Bumblefeel, where every day brought new surprises and where the memory of Mr. Hamid's bee encounter still brought smiles to people's faces, life was a celebration of the simple joys of existence. In the heart of the quirky town, Mr. Hamid continued to be the beloved storyteller, the laughter-inducing friend, and the living proof that a life was meant to be carried away with a sense of humor and a heart full of love. مدرب اللغة وليد خالد.